middle, chapter 7. By now, I'm feeling a little bit better that some 5-year-old isn't trying to kill me. Later, Junior lets me know that bullets are meatballs and gravy and are usually served on New Year's Day when families visit each other, going house to house saying, Le Boni Ani, Happy New Year. Grandma is busy back tending to the ham as Grandpa comes in sharpening his carving knives. I can hear her tell him to carve it thin, and he answers something that makes Grandma let out a sigh and shake her head. My grandpa makes his way over to me. Apple? Grandpa tips it down to softly say, "What's the matter? You don't look so good. Do these people remember nothing? I think I mentioned something about a jar full of dirt pushed through the window. What kind of gift is dirt? I mean, really? Who's trying to make a statement like you're a dirt bag, or is it more like you're filthy like dirt?" My grandfather smiles to himself and lets me know that I just need to keep this thought for now and worry about making sense of it later. After my little tirades like I just had, I'm so used to Dad and Judy rolling their eyes and shooing me to my room to calm down. But Grandpa doesn't make a big deal out of it. And none of the people in the house, trailer, even take notice when I just had diarrhea of the mouth. Since Grandpa isn't giving me any answers, I change the subject to try to learn more about this little Inns. So, Grandpa, if that girl is little Inns, which one of these people is Big Inns? Which relative here is her mom? Junior looks at Grandpa with a solemn gaze and peers around to see if anyone is listening. He beckons me with his enormous sausage-sized finger to come closer. Junior leans to me in a low tone and says, "Well, see, little Inns' mom had some problems with drugs. 2 years ago, she ran off with some guy she met in the casino. We haven't heard from her since. Every now and then, little Ends gets an envelope in the mail with a few dollars in it. We're guessing it's from Big Ends." My chest feels like someone threw a lead football into my heart. That poor little girl. I never knew my mom, but this little one had her mother leave her on purpose. Could her mom be dead? Should they have started an investigation? "Well, how do you know her mom isn't dead somewhere?" Grandfather replies matter-of-factly. "Well, that's why we all, everyone in the Turtle Mountains, read obituaries. From coast to coast, we have relatives who keep an eye out for big Inns in their newspapers. It's a sad way to look for the dead, but for those on drugs, their families are dead. It's up to the rest of us Indian country to look out for the orphans. Apple, we may not have fancy houses here or expensive cars, but the one treasure we do have is family. A big, extended, crazy family. Little Nezzy, that's what we call her, lives with her older sister, Tara, now." "I understand, Grandpa. But I heard Grandma earlier tell Inns to find Grandpa. You. But if she's not my cousin, how can you be her grandpa?" Grandpa looks at me and smiles. "Little Nezzy wanted a grandpa and grandma, so she started calling us that. Your grandma and I answered. See, Apple, in Indian culture, grandparents and elders are highly respected. It's a great honor to have lived this long and to have learned many life lessons, most of them hard ones. In Indian country, in the Indian way, family is necessary for survival. Many of your relatives that come here and have mixed and blurred the line of what outsiders may understand. See, does those two men by the door? They're cousins. They may be fourth or second cousins. It may be a loose definition of a cousin, but it doesn't matter to them. And Junior here calls just about everyone in this reservation auntie or uncle, even if I don't know the exact family lines of everyone in this house today. Yet it makes it almost better because we're all in the inner circle of a close family. Last year, Nezzy started calling us Musham and Kukum, Grandpa and Grandma, in the Mischief language, and so now she's our granddaughter too. Just as, just as I was asking, my grandmother walks into the kitchen carrying empty dishes and stacking them in the sink. Man, can these people eat? She must have overheard and understood our conversation. "Let's see, Apple, you're Junior's cousin. No, wait, technically that's my cousin's child, so it would make you his third cousin. And Big Inns was my second cousin twice removed, so, let's tie this from Musham's side, Xavier's side. Now, he was Big Inns' auntie's cousin by marriage, so, Apple, that makes you and little Nezzy." Grandma starts counting on her fingers, staring at everyone. I try to make some sense of the lineage. "Okay, so I get that. Junior is some type of cousin, but Biggins was some sort of cousin removed. Just then, little Inns glides into the kitchen, wiping her mouth. She stops when she sees me and gives me a smile. I continue asking how little Inns and I are related. So, Grandma, you would be Inns's cousin, and that makes Junior another one of little Inns's cousins. I contemplate the connection as I point between little Inns and myself. So, what does that make me? Lucky, little Nessie says without losing a beat. She brings the house down. Later that evening, after most people left, yes, it took a while, I could feel exhaustion set in. A few people were helping clean up the kitchen with my grandma, and she tells me not to worry about helping, to just go to bed. I need to do something to help clean up, to show my appreciation. That little lecture my dad is always yelling ever so politely keeps popping up in my head. It's the lecture about how you're supposed to show people your thanks by doing something nice in return. Apparently, I didn't understand him completely when he first told me this. Judy was making a new recipe for chocolate pudding. She was trying to use up a box of some old ingredients. First clue something was amiss. And didn't check the expiration date. Bear loves anything chocolate, so he was the first one to dig in. Since it smelled pretty good, I grabbed a spoon and dug in too. I looked at my almost finished bowl, and the pudding was moving. Maggots. They're not just for breakfast anymore. Ugh. Move, I yelled as I reached for the garbage can and yanked it. I threw it up, making sure not to get any of my puke on the floor. One nice thing deserves another, Dad. Dad's right. Paying back is a good quality to live by. I never noticed it before, but our family seems to have a lot of vomit stories. I guess some families have game night. We heave together. The family that throws up together grows up together, or something like that. Back to doing something to show my appreciation for my parents, or for my party. I grabbed two full garbage bags from the pile next to the sink and head out to the garbage cans I saw out back. Walking through the thinning crowd of relatives, I nod to this one and say goodnight to another one. Most of the older people here pat my arm or touch my hand and always add my girl when they're talking to me, but they also say it to little Nez too. Not quite sure what it's all about. Just as I get to the garbage cans out back, I try to walk around a man. He's lighting a cigarette and doesn't seem to get the idea that maybe he could move out of the way so I can get rid of these bags that are starting to rip up and are sending melting ice cream down my arm. This guy standing in front of me reminds me of pictures of the Marlboro Man, tall, tan, and wearing cowboy boots and hat. So you're Apple. I knew your ma. She was a real beauty. Oh, well, thanks, I guess, I say, shocked that this man could be old enough to have known my mother. He's tall, over 6'5", with short, spiky black hair, looking at his sculpted face with high cheekbones and dark pools for eyes. I blush a bit, then he speaks again. But you don't look nothing like her, he says, glancing at me from head to toe. And who are you? I've met so many relatives today, I just can't seem to keep all the names straight, I say apologetically. He squints as he looks at me, then his eyes look over my shoulder to the trailer as he says, I'm Carl. I lived next to your ma growing up. Saw you talking to that little Inns girl earlier. Laughing, I replied, yeah, that little girl sure is something. Oh, she's something all right. Her ma ran out on her, left with some white guy. Best you stay away from that girl. Nothing but trouble comes from mixing les blancs from whites, Carl says as he blows smoke in my face and takes two steps toward me, never taking his eyes off me. Pretty sure this Carl fellow isn't aware of the secondhand smoke studies. Not quite sure what to say, I try walking around him to attempt to put the garbage away. Stepping in front of me, he gets down in my face. Your ma and I spent some time together, but she left for college and got too good for us. Heard she married a rich white guy and had you. White guys think they can swoop in and take the best of our Indian women. Carl stops to take a drag of his cigarette. He's not looking at me so much as looking through me. Stepping so close to me I could see the pupils of his stormy eyes, he whispers, and what kind of name is Apple? Why do you know what kind of Indians we call Apple? Carl was cut short from finishing. Hey, Carl, Junior yells, walking and waving manically as he bounds down the deck steps at full speed. You got the early shift tomorrow at work, man. Best you be getting home. I'll give you a ride. Carl is surprised at how quickly Junior is beside him and is visibly shaken. Oh, no thanks. I can stay and catch a ride with my uncle. No problem at all. I'm going right by your house. Junior officially ends the discussion while he grabs the garbage bags and slams them into the cans. Carl jumps up from the clamor, both men staring at each other. Junior continues to rescue me. Apple, you had a tiring day. Go on in and I'll finish up out here, he booms while looking at Carl. It seems like a good time to get back inside, so I hand Junior the garbage. There's something about that Carl, an anger floating barely under the surface, just shimmering. Being in the middle is usually an annoyance. But this time, being in the middle of these two men, I'm anxious more than I have ever been before to get out of here. And get out of here fast, which is exactly what I did. This wouldn't be the last time, only I didn't know it yet, that Junior would come to my rescue.